All right. And we are back with the GSMCPodcast.net. I'm your host, Eric Rodriguez, every Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Pacific Time, 11 p.m. Eastern Time. Talk about all things professional wrestling, all the action inside and outside of the ring, behind the curtain stuff, superstar news, updates, rumors, injuries, and just basically everything everything you need to know about professional wrestling from WWE to AEW, Ring of Honor, TNA, New Japan Professional Wrestling, the NWA. Occasionally some don't really make main head news, and sometimes it is hard to kind of get your hands on some of these, wrestling promotions and stuff like that. So wrestling is obviously, I think, is on like every day of the week. Like it's pretty crazy. It's super cool. Love it 1,010%. But, trying to stay on top of it. Definitely, I do my best for you guys 1,010%. So let's go and talk about some new women's titles in the works. Obviously, you know what I'm talking about. We are talking about we're talking about the WWE Women's Intercontinental Championship and the WWE Women's United States Championship. Obviously, we're going to see the Intercontinental Championship defended on SmackDown. You're not going to want two Intercontinental champions on the same brand, so to speak, and then also vice versa with the the Women's United States Championship with Logan Paul. But I don't know. It's going to be pretty crazy. WWE has been confirmed, and basically further than specified that they will be adding more titles, which is very very good. I feel like they probably should have did this a lot sooner rather than later. The WWE Women's Intercontinental Championship, the WWE Women's United States Championship are on the way. They needed these titles. They needed these titles for mid card. It's been it's been a priority. It's been a priority that should have been, kind of discussed throughout, I would say probably as soon as the women's revolution really started. I feel like, something could have came in fruition there. Something could have, helped the new nuanced way of looking at the women's division, and inserting these titles would have been great. It would have been great. Obviously, we're going to talk about some talents that ultimately kind of suffered because they didn't have these titles. So obviously we're going to talk about Diana Perrazzo. She's pretty good. I'd see her fight on Collision and Rampage and stuff like that. AEW star. She went from WWE. Definitely someone that they could have put a title around. Obviously a lot of talent, but ultimately she left the WWE because no one really wants to be signed as like a jobber, or you're like, oh yeah, you can perform, but you're only going to perform in on live events and stuff like that. So Deanna Purrazzo is definitely someone that they definitely could have kept. Also, Tony Storm, timeless Tony Storm right now is killing it, absolutely killing it in AEW. She's represented the championship very, very well in the women's division. Definitely talented, definitely very durable. She doesn't get injured very, so often. Just imagine if they had a women's mid card title for like the Intercontinental. Obviously, you have a whole bunch of women fighting for one title, and you have just as much women as you do have men on the roster. It can get a little messy, could get bottlenecked a little bit, everybody fighting for the same prize. And of course, you don't want to crown a champion and then crown another one on a month to month, week to week basis, because it loses prestige for the women's WWE Championship, also the WWE Women's World Heavyweight Championship on Raw. So, definitely having a mid card title definitely could have helped out Tony Storm and keeping her. And of course, we're going to talk about Sasha Banks. Sasha Banks went to, Mercedes Moné, but although Mercedes Moné, I feel like she was WWE Tag Team Champion, a women's tag team champion with Bayley. I think didn't she win it with Naomi? Yeah, she won it with Naomi when she left. I think she actually technically retired and left from the WWE while she was the women's tag team champion. Kind of cool, kind of badass from Sasha Banks, going out on her own terms. But she said in an interview that she's going to retire in WWE. She's going to find a way to make her way back. Don't know how long she's going to be under contract with Tony Khan's AEW, but she's still very much young. Obviously, if there was a WWE Women's Intercontinental Championship or a WWE Women's United States Championship, maybe this would have been a little better, a little bit more of a landing spot for Sasha Banks. Maybe she could, be the longest reigning inaugural WWE Intercontinental Champion, and she would be absolutely thrilled, to the point where she wouldn't have walked out, to the point where now WWE doesn't have to look it over their shoulder and be like, oh, well, Sasha Banks, Mercedes Moné is killing it over there. Kind of wish we never would have, dropped her because, if Mercedes Moné was out of the title picture she never made it to AEW. If she never even touched foot in AEW, I'm not saying AEW would have suffered all that bad, but she's such a heel. She's such a steeple in your women's division. You could put a title on. You can just have baby faces after baby faces attack her, fan favorites, and she comes out the victor. She keeps knocking them down. So definitely having Mercedes Moné or Sasha Banks on any wrestling promotions roster is absolutely necessary. 1,010%. Also, Ember Moon, one of my favorites. She was a huge star in NXT, got bumped up to the WWE Monday Night Raw roster, was essentially kind of a throwaway, kind of jobber. They didn't really know how to handle her character. And ultimately, we saw her leave WWE. They tried to make her work back down in WWE NXT, but, you're Athena. Like right now, she's Athena. She's the longest reigning women's Ring of Honor champion, absolutely prestigious. And honestly, she should have accepted nothing less of that. Her athletic talents, her ability to get the crowd into the match because of her abilities is uncanny. Her mic skills, she's with MIT with Billy Starks. They are running that women's division on Ring of Honor. Absolutely sad. Ember Moon was definitely one of my favorite wrestlers coming out of NXT. And then you also have Ruby Riott of the Riot Squad. Who knows where the Riot Squad would have landed if she would have never got injured. And then her coming back to be like, okay, now you guys are going to kind of be, you guys aren't going to be as great. You guys aren't going to win, the WWE World Women's Tag Team titles. And Ruby Riott's like, oh, okay, then bye. Like, I'm gone. Like, you know what I mean? And she's had so much success on AEW through her short 10-year time. But I feel like Ruby Riott was another talent that the WWE could have made happy, but they did not. Of course, we also have Ash by Elegance. She's killing it on TNA right now. She had a very, very good match against the Juggernaut in Jordan Grace. Definitely think she's going to be, TNA Knockout champion in the future. But, she's been kind of hinting that she's going to come to NXT and challenge Roxanne Perez before Julia or Stephanie Vacure. So I don't know. It'd be kind of interesting to find out what what kind of comes with that. And also something that, we talked about WWE stars that left that could have benefited from having a women's mid card title. Also, you got to think about some superstars that are injured right now, that that are inactive, that are speculated on coming back. 1,010%. So we have Shotzi. Shotzi's another superstar that's making her way back into the WWE. She's still on the roster, so I definitely think they have big plans for her. Don't really see her going anywhere. She could definitely use those titles to kind of revamp her career, kind of make something, and honestly, I think there'd be a pretty good shot for WWE. Also, you have Asuka. Asuka, one of the longest winning streaks in WWE women's history. The Empress, like she's amazing. She's great in her matches. I didn't like it when she went heel with the Kabuki Warriors, teamed up with the Io Sky, Dakota Kai, and also Kairi Sane. Kairi Sane's another name that, could definitely benefit from having a mid-card title like the Women's Intercontinental or the Women's United States. But I don't know. Asuka's also another superstar that's going to come back, and it's not like you can just put her in the women's, tag title, contestant, and stuff like that, or try to fight for, the title over and over again. Another one, Alexa Bliss is coming back. She's another, another main Carter, but she could ultimately find her way in the mid Carter. I know she kind of has smaller stature and stuff like that, but this girl kicks ass. She has a big heart. Obviously 1,010%, and she has what it takes to do what she does in the ring. And what she does in the ring is ultimately kick ass and be successful. 1,010%. Like, she doesn't really need that big strapping, like with technique, strategy, also getting under your opponent's skin could definitely prove more dividends than being like a Nia Jax or maybe even like a Jade Cargill and stuff like that. But as soon as Alexa Bliss comes back, they have to do something with the character. Also, Charlotte Flair. We have all these big superstar names coming back, and what are they going to fight for? Just one title? One title? That's just not realistic. That's not pragmatic. That's like kind of setting them up to fail. fail, like putting them in like, all right, you guys are going to be in, matches that, we're going to end in like 5 minutes and stuff like that. Like, the women have become so far in professional wrestling. And like I said, they probably should have did this in the women's revolution back when like the Bella twins and stuff like that. They should have added another mid-card title, but WWE didn't pull the trigger. Um, Charlotte Flair coming back, she's gonna want some gold, man. She's gonna want some gold. Becky Lynch, if she signs with WWE, no doubt in my mind that she's gonna be absolutely in the main event card. She's going to be fighting for the Women's World Heavyweight Championship, the WWE Women's Championship. But if they decide to kind of hold off a little bit, they can kind of have her have a little bit of a 3 month to 4 month reign as Intercontinental or the WWE United States Women's Champion. They could absolutely do that, 1,010%. And it would be fine for Becky. Becky would ultimately find another young superstar like maybe Lyra Valkyria, obviously have a great match at a pay-per-view, have her lose the title, bringing up the young talent and stuff like that. Like, I definitely could see that happening. And I know this might be a little distasteful for WWE fans, but Ronda Rousey is still in the wrestling kind of community. I think, she's had a lot of praises of Triple H. Triple H and her obviously trained and stuff like that. Triple H, and especially with TKO and UFC becoming partners with WWE. UFC fighters already kind of hinting at, once when their career is over, hinting at joining the WWE essentially. Like, essentially they have a more rough and tough kind of NXT. Like, of course, like, I feel like Ronda Rousey should have made her debut in NXT first. Maybe overall would have helped her wrestling skills because she was out there hurting people. She was missing her cues. She was going too fast. She was a little bit too rough. She didn't get cues off from her opponents and stuff like that. But and it happens. It is professional wrestling. But Ronda Rousey, I feel like, with the right amount of time, and she even mentioned this in an interview, that for the men's division they give like hours on hours talking about creative and matches and stuff like that. For women's, under the Vince McMahon era, it was like 2 or 3 minutes and then bam, done. Like, imagine if they would have gave them more time to kind of, fulfill ultimately what they wanted to do. So, don't really hold too much animosity against Ronda Rousey, but it's definitely still a possibility that she could definitely come back. So we went from injured superstars, and now we're going to talk about current superstars that could benefit. Obviously, I'm pretty high on Dakota Kai. I think she's going to do wonders in WWE. All you got to do is really give her a shot. She's not really WWE title women's, kind of, I don't think she's really that kind of person. But as a mid carder, 1,010%, I can see her kicking ass with the WWE Intercontinental Championship. And then also Io Sky could definitely 1,010%, um, you know, do what it takes to win championship gold once again. Right now, she's kind of in damage control. I feel like it's ultimately kind of wasting her time, but she could definitely, have a pretty good future. Also, we have Shayna Baszler. Shayna Baszler, for the longest time in WWE, has kind of been messed around. Kind of reminds me of like a Bobby Lashley, where they kind of keep stringing her along, be like, all right, now we're gonna have you as a champion. You're gonna fight an elimination chamber match, get the number one contendership, and not win anything. So she dominates every single time she's in the ring. But as soon as she fights for a championship, they do nothing. They don't decide to put the belt on or anything like that. Um, Bianca Belair is another superstar, and also Jade Cargill. As soon as they break up from their WWE women's tag team thing, they're going to be needed to fight for something. Obviously, if they go after Bayley's tag team, her WWE championship, especially now that it is just Raw and SmackDown, so they're going to need them. They're going to need a mid card belt, definitely 1,010%. Maybe something that's going to be announced at SummerSlam. Who knows? Natalia recently signed a contract with WWE once again. She's been featured on NXT more or less, but she makes her way into WWE on SmackDown or Raw from time to time. So would be beneficial for her as well to kind of have like that. Lyra Valkyria, absolutely love her in ring capabilities. She's on the up and coming. Like I said, that loss against Sonya Deville on Monday Night Raw, I felt like kind of rubbed me the wrong way. I would have rather saw Zelina Vega lose against Zoe Stark than them get involved and kind of interfere with Lyra Valkyria's match. But definitely biases. Ever since watching her in WWE NXT, she's a talent, and she would definitely benefit as the Intercontinental Champion. Liv Morgan, she's the WWE World Heavyweight Women's Champion, but she doesn't belong, man. Like, she's cool and all, and I'm not a Liv Morgan hater, 1,010%, but she kind of belongs more like a mid Carter. Like, you know what I mean? I don't, I'm not trying to, be like, oh, she can't do it. You know what I mean? But whenever she has the belt, I just feel like there's just every single match she's in, you think she's gonna lose, but then she finds a way, or like something happens, interference and cheats. Kind of reminds me of like a Damian Priest kind of champion here. But Liv Morgan is, I don't know, like she could get better. 1,010% could get better. So honestly, like a lot of stuff. But yeah, the Women's Intercontinental Championship and the Women's United States Championship is in the works. The success of the Women's NXT North American Championship, held by Kaylani Jordan, has been absolutely prestigious. Superstars such as Dana Brooke, Raquel Rodriguez, Chelsea Green, also WWE Hall of Famers Booker T and The Undertaker, has stated for the longest time that WWE should have definitely, sooner rather than later, introduced a women's mid-card match on each show, Raw and SmackDown. All right, guys, don't go anywhere. We're going to try to finish our fifth segment up real quick. We have our Tuesdays today in wrestling history. So, hey, do not go anywhere.